Imouto Season 2 is finally over, and I decided that instead of doing a just finished watching video and leave it at that, I would go ahead and make this relatively short review, at least compared to the others. Spring season is coming to a close, or has already closed depending on when this review is uploaded, and there were a few shows that weren't that bad, if not pretty good. But the biggest surprise of all is how much I enjoyed this continuation. Now, for those who have never seen Ore no Imouto, the plot centers mainly on the brother and sister relationship of Kyosuke and Kirino Kosaka, who start off with a rather shaky note with their bond, but gradually get back together in the most extreme of ways, sometimes to comedic effect. This is all supported by the supporting cast comprised of the cute and eccentric Kuroneko, the odd but rich Saori, and my favorite supporting character of the bunch, the Yandere Supremo herself, motherfucking Ayase, which is where this is based from, with the crazy antics and energy withstanding, but manages to add drama, conflicts, and a certain level of complexity along for the ride, creating a continuation that never feels like a rehash of what came before, and if anything, is better than what came before, gathering the leeway to tackle more scenarios and deeper story arcs. From insight into Saori's backstory, the ambiguous approach to Kyosuke and Kirino's recoupling, and even relations regarding Kuroneko, it all forms a new season that puts a heavier emphasis on character relationships, with twists abound and secrets and personal agendas revealed at key turns. This resulted in characters who actually evolve, rather than staying the same and feeling artificial, shallow, and boring, and what is thrown really adds to engagement, making you care about what you're experiencing. Considering that this takes place later in the story and character's life, this was fitting, pulling off a new chapter that goes full steam ahead, concentrating on the emotional highs and lows of the cast and the events. Sure, the show does take its time to truly get going, and detours can sometimes feel like speed bumps, but in the end, what matters is what I got out of it, and I got plenty. That's not to say that it's down and downer. This is Ore no Imouto, and the humor we get keeps up with the status quo. This show could get pretty bonkers, with pervert bikes, yandere mode, and wacky situations of high amounts of embarrassment, woohoo. But you know what? It all works. And it works because we know what's going on with the characters and the story at large, so when you get right down to it, everything is balanced out. It doesn't go down to being a bore, and it never goes toward being try-hard, and manages to maintain a sustainable level that doesn't get in the way, applying it when needed, as to avoid being obnoxious and bothersome. Granted, I can imagine this sort of humor failing to strike some people's cup of tea, but I got amusement and some laughs from it, and even if you don't, the stories presented here might hold you over. Now, I want to keep the presentation aspect kind of brief since I don't want to overstay this review's welcome, so here's a lean evaluation. The visual side of things are up to par, colorful, expressive, but not overly impressive. That's not to say it's ugly, as the anime does have a good share of good-looking highlights, but as a whole, don't expect some mind-blowing animation and art designs everywhere, but don't expect a subpar quality anime either. So overall, the visual presentation is above average, and it doesn't really go higher than that. When you get to audio, I'll get this out of the way. Soundtrack is not entirely memorable. It's not bad, but you don't really mind it. And like the visuals, considering what kind of show it is, it didn't need to pull all the stops. That would just be overkill in my opinion. However, the voice acting is when things shine, and is a clear as clean water improvement from what was heard in the past, mainly attributed to this season's direction with the actors showcasing their skills to hit emotional highs and lows with compelling efficiency. When things are meant to be fun and upbeat, the acting is energetic enough to keep up. When things get out of hand and crazy, the acting becomes appropriately radiant. But when things sink and we get a personal, down-to-earth perspective of what's going on with the characters, these types of performances are also nailed, being as believable as it needs to, completing the drama that appears. At this above-average audio presentation with the visuals, and it comes out to being an above-average looking and sounding show that'll give you something pleasant to look at and something engrossing to hear, providing a solid picture. Of all the things I want out of a continuation, nothing is more wanted than for it to take what has been established and evolve it, to drive towards a direction beyond the hills and explore the valleys and the rivers and the seas of possibilities, to explore uncharted territory towards a varied location that will lead to a new tomorrow and another tomorrow after. And unlike this pile of shit, that is what Ore no Imouto Season 2 did. To actually continue things, expand, to never walk backwards, but to move on with new things to show and tell. You know, like a good sequel should. This is all I want. This is all I want out of any sequel, and I swear, if the second season of Ayase Infinite Stratos does not do this at all, hell will freeze over. I swear on Jesus' skirt on a piece of wheat bread. Which comes to the conclusion of this review, and I'll say that this is one of my favorite animes to come out this anime season, and could have been my favorite if Suisei no Gargantia didn't finally kick its own ass into overdrive. Seriously, that show really picked itself up. Now, I heard that 3 more episodes are coming later this year, in the same vein as the True End specials, but until then, count me satisfied.